What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, bringing home the bacon. MLB DFS video for Thursday, August 17th. We are back. Hopefully, this video finds you doing well. Hopefully, you've been bringing home the bacon with us. If you have, I would absolutely love to know where you're at in winnings, how you've been doing. We've been contacted by a few people via email and on DMs on Twitter/X that people are taking down some tournaments. Maybe not huge tournaments, but they're still taking down some tournaments. So I actually have our Discord in the description of this video, and I'm going to put some avatars out there. Anytime you use our avatar on your DraftKings or Fanduel picture, and you take down any GPP with at least 1,000 participants in it, we're going to give away free months of FTA Plus. So get into the Discord. Hopefully you guys can enjoy it. I will update the link down below. Also, get into our NFL contest. You're not going to want to miss it. There's a total of 200 spots. 200 spots. I think there's like 8 or 9 already in there. $10 a week. If we get all 200 people into the league each week, the top 5 places pay. Top prize is $580 every single week, as long as we get 200 people. So I'm going to be tweeting it out all the time. I'm going to be mentioning it all the time because we want to get it going. Because if we can get 200 people into it, that will be awesome. And hopefully you guys have fun with that as well. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. We do things a little bit different than other DFS providers. We actually care. We go through all of the games. We go through all of the available pitching. We go through all of the available bats that you may use. We break it down. We look at their stats. We look at their splits. We look at everything. Who's hot? Who's not? Who's ready to rock? If you need a little bit more help, we do have more content. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. FTA Plus tab right here. 1 month is $24.99. Or if you use the yearly code, you go to the yearly pass and use promo code NFLVIP, you're going to get $100 off right now. Get it for $99 for an entire year. That includes MLB, MMA, NASCAR, NFL, PGA, and we will be bringing back NBA, I believe. If you guys have enough interest, we will be bringing back NBA for you as well. So we're bringing you everything we can, and I wanted to let you know we're very excited to have you here. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell notification because you want to know when our videos go live, because that is when you can leave a comment. Anytime a video gets at least 50 likes, you leave a comment and you're a subscriber to the channel, your name gets thrown into random, the YouTube random comment picker. You have a chance to win a free week of DFS content. Anytime a video gets at least 100 likes, you have a chance to win a month pass. Anytime a video gets 125 likes, you have a chance to win a yearly pass. And anytime any video at all gets 150 likes, you have a chance to win a lifetime pass. And you can win every single day. All you got to do is come back to the channel. So we're going to see who the winner is from yesterday's video, and then we're going to get rocking and rolling. It is a smaller 6-game slate today, but we're going to chock full of information, stats, and players we like in this slate. So let's check it out right now. So the winner of the free pass from yesterday is the Brobarian. I like the batter spreads the most, the green that catches my eye. So thank you for checking that out. We are actually going to go through that again. That is the first time I think I've seen this comment. So welcome to the channel, or welcome back. If you see that you're the winner, please like the video and tell me that you see it. And then 2 ways to get a hold of us. Either hit me up on Twitter/X at advisors_team, or email me on our support email, dfshelp1@gmail.com, and we will get you set up, the Brobarian, for your free pass. So congratulations again. Come back tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, because you could be a winner as well. So like I said, 6-game slate, not the best options. Maybe a day that I would play a little bit light or just strictly do tournaments, which our optimal lineups are going to be. But if you don't know what FTA Plus has, we have a ton of things. A ton of MLB things. We've got our MMA cheat sheet along with our optimal lineups. We got our NASCAR cheat sheet along with lineups. NFL will have more than this. I am just getting into building out the NFL content because we are 3 weeks away. Very excited. And PGA as well kicked off today. for the Thursday BMW Championship. So we do have a lot of information there. Any questions, let us know. Let me know what you guys would like to see in these videos, because I am trying to make these videos your number one stop, the only stop you need. I need to know what you guys would like to see, and if it's plausible. Obviously, I can't go through each individual batter, every single stat against every single pitch and stuff like that. I would be here. These videos would be 3 hours long. So I'm trying to give you as much information in these videos as I can. And if you need a little bit more help, we do have our premium content, and we have a lot of free content for MLB. So definitely check that out. And let's rock and roll. So the first game on this slate, early, this is the thing. So it's at 1 Eastern Central, or 1:10 Central Time, and it goes down to 4:05. It's really spread out. So that is kind of why, for DraftKings anyway, you have 2 early, then you have 4 on the main slate. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to look through it. So technically, the main slate consists of 4 games, a very small slate, but we're going to go through all of them. So let's take a look. The Mariners at the Royals is the first game on the slate. We've got George Kirby versus, to be announced according to this page. Sometimes when this page isn't updated, we do have the information on DraftKings, so we'll look at that. George Kirby obviously hasn't seen very much of the Royals. 5 plate appearances, 0 batting average there. So we look at that. As of now, it looks like it's going to be Angel Zerpa scheduled to start. So he replaced Greinke last time when he got hurt. Went 4 innings in that game, so now he's technically making a start here. Not much to go off of there. Not much at all. He's made 0 starts, so technically his first start. Pitching at home, it is a pitcher's park. He's got a 6 ERA. None of these stats are going to matter because we don't see much out of that. So kind of just looking, probably not going to be an option for you. He is 5,000, so if you want to get crazy, and with a 2-game slate, you kind of got to get crazy, especially with two starters here on DraftKings. You got to get a little bit crazy. So Zerpa's an option. So we look at George Kirby. So George Kirby coming off a fantastic game against Baltimore. That's a really good hitting team. Had a good game against LA, a decent game against Boston for his price, a little bit of stinker versus Minnesota, and then a really good game against Minnesota. So he's had his ups and downs, but he's a 10-8 record, 3.11 ERA here. Splits-wise, home games, 287. He is better at home in 1 more start. Away games, which this is an away game, 7 home runs, so 1 less home run. He has less Ks there. He has a 3.38 ERA, and he's averaging about 5.1 fantasy points per game less on the road. Now, this is a pitcher's park. We know that. The problem is when you see these pitchers and you're like, oh, they're going up against Kansas City at Kansas City, I feel pretty confident about that. Well, don't feel confident about that, because just looking at the past matchup of these games, is this the 3rd series? I mean, in Tuesday's game, it was 10-8. They're high-scoring games. On Monday's game, it was the Royals ended up walking it off. They won 7-6. So it's not been an easy road for the pitchers that we're taking. They are scoring runs at a pretty good pace. George Kirby has good stuff. Again, with this kind of 2-game slate, anything can happen. You really need anything to happen because you need to build those lineups out there. So George Kirby in tournaments, because it's a 2-game slate, I don't mind any of these pitchers, to be honest, are in tournament spots. Even Patrick Corbin, where I'm probably going to be stacking Boston against him, but in that off chance that he has an amazing game against Boston, you're way above everybody else there. So we're going to dig into the numbers a little bit, but let's take a look. So looking at the bats in this one, just to see who's hot and who's not, who's the red and who's the blue, you're looking obviously for, in this, when you're looking at StatCast, you're looking for the more red, the better the player is against, just in general. So looking at this, J-Rod have fantastic numbers. Dylan Moore's not red, it's slightly red. You can kind of see a tint here, so we'll call him pink. He's pink. I would use him. Eugenio Suarez, I would use. Tasker Hernandez, I would use. I might look at Cal Raleigh, the big dumper. I would use. Maybe Ty France. If you want to get a little bit nuts, Dominic Canzone. I would use a little bit. I almost called him Dom Toretto. I'm an idiot. Or Dom from Prison Break, right? Wasn't that the brother? I can't remember. It wasn't Michael, it was the other one. But anyway, so those would be the bats that I'd use. If you're not going with George Kirby and you want to go with the Kansas City bats, because they've been pretty hot, they've been putting up runs this series. MJ Melendez, I would look at. He's got a little bit more blue than he does red. Michael Garcia, I would look at. Bobby Witt's hitting home runs, hitting grand slams inside the Parkers, stealing bases, he's doing it all. I would use him. Salvador Perez, maybe a little bit of him. Michael Massey, I would use as well. If Perez isn't starting or he's at first base, Freddie Fermin could be in there. I don't mind him. Kyle Isbell is another option that I would look at. So let's take a look at the Mariners bats against righties and see who's had success so far this season. Now, these are on the website. These are completely free. But just kind of looking at this, you see that JP, well, he's on the IL, so we can't use Crawford. Teoscar Hernandez got a little bit more red and yellow than green. Not a ton of green for this Mariners team against... actually, they're going up against the lefty. It is the Kansas City bats that's going up against a righty. That is my bad. So looking at this, I mean, we already went over the numbers, but yeah, not a ton here. I mean, Garcia's batting 281, Salvi's batting 274. The ISO's up there at 208 and 216. That's her, or 208. Michael Garcia isolated power is only .070. Nick Prado's at 404 BABIP. There's not a ton of green in this. I would still use, you can see Bobby Witt here has got a lot of green and yellow. I would use MJ Melendez as well. So use those two stats areas to build out your lineups too. They're completely free. One's on Baseball Savant, one's on our website at FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. So now let's take a look at Seattle bats against lefty pitchers, which is what we're getting out of Kansas City. Caballero here has got a 420 OBP, got a little bit of green there. Teoscar Hernandez has more green and yellow than red and orange. We could look at that. I would look at Suarez there. And these are anyone that have at least 60 plate appearances against these handedness of pitchers. So that's kind of what we're looking at. You need at least 60 plate appearances to make it on this. And some of these people are on the IL or they are hurt or traded. So use that information as you will, but we will bring you as much information as we possibly can. Next game, the Boston Red Sox at the Washington Nationals. You got battle of the lefties here. You got Chris Sale's only faced 2 Washington bats. You got Patrick Corbin, 139 plate appearances against Boston, a .331 batting average with 21.6 K percentage there. Now, I'm always curious when there's 100, 120, 130, 150 plate appearances with a high batting average, if it's like 1 or 2 players or it's spread out from an entire team. So as you can see, it's spread out between like 3 players. Justin Turner hits lefties very well. He's got great numbers there, 381 batting average. Trevor Story, he's got a 333 batting average. Adam Duvall just seems to hit lefties at home. Looking at Adam Duvall here, 343 batting average out of him as well. So the majority of them are 3 batters, but we need to dig into the numbers just a little bit more and check it out. So first off is Chris Sale, made his debut off the IL after over 2 months on the IL, so he's due back on the IL very soon. He had a juicy matchup against Detroit. We know that. 4.2 innings in that, 2 earned runs, 7 Ks, 19.3 fantasy points. Now, that was at home, and he's back. He's still at home again. So, at home, he started 6 games, 13 earned runs in those games, 370 ERA, averaging 19.6 fantasy points per game at home. He is considerably worse on the road, but this one's at home, so we'll look at this. Now, he gets to face Washington. So let's take a look and see what Washington bats. Well, first off, let's take a look at the bats here and see which ones for Washington jump out at us. There's not very many. Usually there's not every day, but we'll go over that. So, Stone Garrett, maybe a tournament option for you. Meneses, no, he's got a lot of blue. Lane Thomas, even though he's got a lot of blue, we've used him. Keibert Ruiz we've used, but more blue. I mean, he's He's got the same amount of blue that he does red, so he's a little bit off. Same thing with, I mean, they're not hitting very well. Let's put it that way. And then if we take a look at the bats against Patrick Corbin, it could be Trevor Story, who's fresh off the IL. Devers is on fire, but we're going to dig in and actually look at the the batter splits just to feel more confident about it. Tristan Casas has been pretty good. Jarren Duran, Justin Turner has great numbers. I would look at Adam Duvall here. Rob Refsnyder seems to always start for the Red Sox against the lefties, so that's something to look at in that situation. So let's take a look at both of the teams here. Boston at Washington, and we can look at which teams we like here. So let's just sort it together. Then we look at this. So Justin Turner has a lot more green and yellow than orange and red. Devers as well. He hits lefties well. 281 average, 526 slugging, 857 OPS, 244 ISO. I like those numbers. Kike Hernandez is gone. Rob Refsnyder, as you can see, in 112 plate appearances against lefties, he's walking at least 1.1 walks per strikeouts. He's got a 330 batting average against them and a 455 OBP to go along with an 873 OPS and a 418 slugging. We go down the list. Tristan Casa, not so much against lefties, but I mean, it's Patrick Corbin. He's known to give up some bombs and some extra base hits as well. We got Lane Thomas for Washington. He's got a lot of green there. We could look at him. Ruiz, I'd look at a little bit. Meneses, like I said, a little bit there. Vargas, I don't mind. Very cheap option, but he hasn't faced very many lefties. And that's probably it. Candelario obviously is gone. I did forget to mention at the beginning of this video, we do simulations throughout the day. We take ballpark factors, we take weather, we take historical matchups, BVPs, recent bias, so like the last 10 starts each pitcher's done, the last 10 or 20 games each batter's done, depending on how many player pool there is, how many players in the player pool, and we simulate that 10,000 total times. In this video, towards the end of the video, we are going to we already have 2,000 simulations done. It's going to give us the top 10 pitchers and top 10 bats that we like. Now, it's going to be a little bit iffy on the pitchers just because it is a tournament-only day because there's a total of 6 games, 4 on the main slate. So we're going to go through it. Usually by about an hour before the start of the main slate is when we go ahead and simulate it for the 10,000th time and then upload that to the website. So all of that will be on the website, but we are going to give you the 10,000 simulations on the site. We're going to give you the 2,000 here towards the end of the video. So in that game, yeah, I honestly think I would obviously side with Chris Sale, but if you want to get contrarian, you want to save some money, you want to, Patrick Corbin and Zerpa are going to allow you to pay up at every other position. The problem is you don't know what you're going to get out of them. That's the problem. So that is the early slate done out of those 2 games. We move on to the main slate. Now, we look at this Detroit at Cleveland. You got Tariq Skubal versus Xavion Curry. Problem is there is a little bit of weather concern here. Depending on when you watch this video throughout the day, obviously this is going to change a little bit. We will update it on the website. We have a weather tab on the cheat sheet as well. So I just want to bring that to your attention. Skubal has faced 42 Cleveland bats, 231 batting average, 11.9 K percentage, where Curry has faced 19 Detroit bats, 26.3 K percentage, a 368 batting average against them. So not much. It's very, very skewed there. So we dig in a little bit. Skubal here. We've used him his past couple of starts. He didn't give us much against Boston. He actually came through pretty well against Tampa Bay. Miami had a bad game, and then San Francisco had a really good game. Splits-wise, he hasn't faced Cleveland this year yet. He's on the road. In 3 games on the road, he's given up a 9.64 ERA, whereas home starts, he's given up no runs at all. He's not been good on the road. Cleveland has been pretty good, a formidable offense lately against pitchers that we thought should have their number, and they just haven't. So that is definitely something to look at. I think people are going to see Skubal, and they're going to like that a little bit. But you got to dig into the numbers just a little bit more. So when we look at Curry here, game logs. Not a good game against Tampa Bay. Went 5 innings in that game, 5 earned runs, 1 strikeout, minus 1.6 fantasy points. White Sox, 12.9 fantasy points. He's not been very Curry-like, if you want to say Steph Curry. Seth Curry's even better than him. Maybe Great Grandpa Curry. I don't know. I wouldn't use him. That's the problem. Nothing what he's done lately has shown me that he's in a good spot. He's pitched against Detroit twice this year. Neither of them are starts. He's only gotten a total of 4 innings, so out of the bullpen, 1 earned run, 4 Ks, 5.7 fantasy points per game, so not much. Now he's a start. He's going to face them probably 2 to 3 times through the order. That usually favors, by the third time around the order, that usually favors the batter. And I think that's probably the most likely outcome in this game. I have been wrong before. That is another thing, a difference between us and like the other DFS competitors or pros or whatever you want to, or content creators or whatever you want to say. They are not going to tell you when they're wrong. They're going to come out with, I'm not going to use names or websites or anything, but I honestly think they don't care. I care. If you don't know that I care by now, you haven't been here long enough. I am trying to make you a better DFS player as much as I possibly can while also getting your support. Ways to support, obviously sign up to FTA Plus. That helps me. Checking out our articles down below. All of the links in the description helps. A big one is these videos, liking the videos, sharing the videos on Twitter, sharing these videos on your social media, Facebook, wherever else. You can't really share them on Instagram, but sharing them. But the big one is, I know you hate it watching the ads all the way through or clicking on the ads. If you guys just watch these videos and watch the ads all the way through, as annoying as they are, that is where the real money comes from. That and merch. And I'm thinking about getting a new logo with shirts about bringing home the bacon. And if they're good shirts and you guys would like them, let me know. That'd be pretty awesome to have you guys tag us on Twitter for some free months and free weeks of content and stuff like that. So that is a thought of mine. Whether or not it's going to come to fruition, it's really up to you guys. So looking at just the batters without digging into the splits right now, you got the Detroit Tigers, Torkelson, and I think Torkelson and Riley Green went back-to-back, or at least in the same inning on Wednesday. They've got fantastic numbers here. Wouldn't be surprised if they hit well. The problem is the weather, so we got to kind of pay attention to the weather here. Jake Rogers is okay. He's got more red than blue there. Same thing with Kerry Carpenter. He's got a little bit of white and blue, but other than that, it's pretty red for him. Andy, yeah, maybe Matt Vierling I would look at a little bit. Not much. Outside of like Torkelson and Green, I'm not confident enough to say let's go a Detroit stack. And the flip side of that, we got the Guardians against Skubal. Arias, I don't mind. Jose Ramirez is obviously, if you're going to take Guardians, you're going to have a Jose Ramirez in your lineup. Laureano should be starting against a lefty, but he doesn't bring a ton to the table outside of that amazing throw he had against the Angels back in the day. And if you haven't seen it yet, YouTube Ramon Laureano throw, and I think it should be the first one. It's a piss rocket. It is a cannon. I mean, we now know that it was probably aided by PEDs, but I mean, he's got a cannon on him. I mean, I would look at maybe a little bit Oscar Gonzalez if you want to get some lower ownership. Cole Calhoun has been coming through, even though it's a lefty-on-lefty matchup. Probably it. Maybe Andres Jimenez a little bit. And Will Brennan, if Will Brennan's towards the top of the lineup. If he's not, then I probably don't enjoy him as much, I guess I'll say. But we'll look at the batter split. So, taking a look, we'll look at the Cleveland bats against lefties and Tariq Skubal. Rosario's gone. Bella's gone. Naylor's on the IL. Andres Jimenez, not a ton of green there, not going to lie. Gabriel Arias actually is not good against lefties at all. Terrible. .069 average. Now, I'm not saying they don't have a good game. I'm just saying overall on the season has not hit lefties well. Now, could Arias have 3 home runs in this game? While unlikely, He could. And that is where we just don't know what's going to happen. So kind of looking at that. I don't know if I'd use him. Steven Kwan actually doesn't have bad numbers against lefty-on-lefty matchup there. Jose Ramirez, he's okay against lefties. Will Brennan, again, he's got a lot more red. So to be honest, digging into the numbers, I don't know. Jose Ramirez, I think, is better from the left side of the plate rather than the right side, which he will be hitting here for the first couple of turns through his bats. But then you got to think about it. They're going to switch, and they're probably going to see a lefty or a righty. They're going to see both in this game. So just overall in the starters, the majority of his at-bats are probably going to come against Skubal. Not the best numbers out of everybody here. Then we can take a look at right-handed bats. We could look at, Detroit. Take a gander at Detroit. Probably wouldn't. I don't feel confident enough to use Miggy. He's pretty much done. Riley Green, as you can see, wouldn't be surprised if he has another home run today. 306 batting average against righties, 371 OBP, 500 slugging, 871 OPS, 395 BABIP. I mean, fantastic numbers out of him. Kerry Carpenter actually has some green, more green than I thought. I'd still use Torkelson here. Definitely use some torque in this lineup. Batters I probably wouldn't use at all. Miggy. McKinstry, Baez is god-awful. Just god-awful. So if I'm using batters for Detroit, probably Green, Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter. That's basically it. I don't know if I'm going to have much of a stack. I don't know if I'm going to have much in this game, and I hope the weather isn't as big a concern as it possibly could. But again, obviously weather will change, so we'll get there when we get there. So that brings us to the next game, the Mets at the Cardinals, a free square, basically. I know the Mets are bad. Adam Wainwright is absolutely trash. If Adam Wainwright wasn't Adam Wainwright, like if he didn't help this team, he hasn't been on this team his entire career, he would have been DFA'd on any other team, I think, outside the Yankees, who haven't DFA'd Severino yet for whatever reason. He's been bad this year. It's his rodeo. But it's been terrible. And we're going to look at these numbers. So looking at these, you got Jose Quintana versus Adam Wainwright. We got Quintana at 54 plate appearances, a 306 batting average against him, 22.2 K percentage. Where Waino here, his numbers are not, they don't even look good here, and he's been very, very bad this year. And if you don't know the numbers, you're probably going to be shocked when you sit here and figure out what these numbers are when we get into it. So 102 plate appearances against the Mets bats, 326 batting average, less than 15% strikeout rate there. Let's look at these numbers here. So Quintana, this will be his sixth start of the year. 0-4 record, but only a 3.03 ERA. So overall, he's, 3 or less earned runs. He's just not getting the run support because the team sold off. And then when the bullpen comes in, you can see, gave up 1 earned run in 6 innings, and then the bullpen gave up 5 more runs. Gave up 2 earned runs here, and his team didn't get any runs for him. Lost against Kansas City in his worst start. He's been up and down. The Cardinals, I don't know if I'm going to use pitching here, but we can look at these numbers. Not face St. Louis this year. He is pitching on the road. He started 3 games on the road, a 3.38 ERA, which is respectable. 13 fantasy points per game out of there, which isn't bad at 6,700. Then we get into some Wainwright numbers. This might you might be shocked, you might not. 3.7 record, 8.78 ERA. Pretty much the Cardinals have to know that when they trot out Adam Wainwright, it's an automatic loss, or it's at least going to be a deficit. Automatically first inning, second inning, they're going to be in a hole. So whether or not the offense can really dig out of that hole, that's a whole different story. So game log wise, against Kansas City, which is a very bad team that we like to stack against, mostly, except for apparently they're really turning it on right now against Seattle. And I just bought tickets to the Royals game, or to Yankees at Royals at the end of September. Cheap tickets because it's Kansas City and they're bad. But I'm scared that the Yankees are going to get destroyed by them because they're bad too this year. Crazy. But anyway, I'm just going to drink a lot and just enjoy. A hotel right next to the stadium, so I don't have to drive, which is a plus. They got some great barbecue, but so on and so forth. He got minus 19.2 fantasy, minus 19.2 fantasy points in one inning. Gave up 8 earned runs, 2 home runs in a pitcher's park, mind you. I don't know what happened. He's just old. He's done. He's washed. He's retired. He should have not came back, honestly. He's got 5 starts this year of minus fantasy points, which is absolutely nuts after being out the first month of the season. It's been bad. He's had his best start was 12.9 fantasy points against the Mets, against this team, 6.1 innings, 3 earned runs at New York. So he's faced them one time, and that was actually his best start of the year, and he still had a 4.26 ERA in that game. I don't expect him to do good at all. I expect him to get absolutely lit up, even against a team that sold all of their good assets away. So looking at this, home games, he's got a 9.26 ERA compared to an 8.24 on the road. It's a Mets stack for me today, and I don't think it's even close. So looking at that, that's kind of my thought here. Mets bats against Wainwright. Maybe Quintana a little bit, but let's take a look at the bats here. Who might be successful, both sides. And then we'll get into the splits. So we will definitely look at the Mets bats here. I'm really hoping everyone subscribes to FTA Plus so I can use those funds to make these videos better by getting a new computer, because this thing is so slow. There's so much information in these charts that it can't really hold up. It's absolutely nuts. But yeah, looking at these Mets bats that I would use, it just depends on the lineup that comes out. But Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Dan Vogelbach, I don't mind. I don't love him. He would be a tournament option for me. Francisco Alvarez, I would look at. Obviously, Pete Alonso, I would look at. Jeff McNeil is actually more blue than I would have thought. We used Jonathan Arose, however you say his last name. We used him in our optimal lineup, was it Monday or Tuesday? And he had a home run. He had a ton of fantasy points for his value. The value opened up, we put him in there, and he came through for us. Flip side of that, if you're not using Quintana and you look at St. Louis bats, if Wilson Contreras is back, he has been out the past few games, I believe, with hip tightness. So they might just hold him out, or he might be on the IL by the time you watch this video. He would be a good option here. Goldie would be a good option against the lefty. Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, Burleson, I don't mind. Arenado, I don't mind. Tyler O'Neill. Andrew Kisner would be an option, I think. Edman and Nootbaar. So there are plenty of options, but let's definitely take a look. So if we're looking at these bats, like I said, Edman and Gorman, a lot more green than everything else. Gorman, same thing with green. Carlson, not bad, 376 OBP. Goldie, 364 OBP with a 296 average. DeYoung's gone, obviously. I believe Brendan Donovan's on the IL. Lars Nootbaar, not the best, but I'd take a shot at him. Arenado, I would take a shot at. Obviously, the numbers, if he's in, Wilson Contreras is in, but he always has a chance to aggravate his injury, so that's something to look at. So the flip side of that, what bats would we take? Like I said, pretty much any bat that comes out here. Alvarez would be a good option against Waino, Lindor, Nimmo, Pete Alonso. Pretty much every Mets bat is probably in for a good spot and has a good shot at defeating Waino. So that is my thought in this game. I'm not using Adam Wainwright as far as I can throw him. I would use a little bit of Quintana, but I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I don't like this slate a ton. This isn't my favorite slate, especially with 4 games on this main slate. Might play a little bit lighter than I usually would. Then we get here, Arizona Diamondbacks at San Diego Padres. You got Zach Gallen versus to be announced right now. This is a pitcher's park. You got Zach Gallen, 153 plate appearances, a 239 batting average, 23.5 K percentage out of him. According to this, Rich Hill should be starting against them. He pitched on Saturday. This is technically his time in the rotation. Hasn't been the best here against in his 2 starts for San Diego. This will be the 3rd one. He hasn't been the best here. Let's just put it that way. And I don't think I would trust him against San Diego or against Arizona. But let's look. So Zach Gallen, the highest priced pitcher on the slate, comes in 12-5 record. Arizona's been really good, giving him offense behind him. 3.24 ERA. He has 11,000, has 165 Ks. Game logs coming off really good game against this same team, and that was at home, which is a worse pitcher's park than where he's currently at. He went 6 innings in that game, 8 strikeouts, 30.5 fantasy points. Splits-wise, he's faced San Diego 3 times this year, a 2-0 record against them, 19 innings pitched, 4 total earned runs with 22 strikeouts. He's averaging 25.9 fantasy points against the San Diego team. I know they've been putting up some runs in this series, but Zach Gallen, it might extinguish the flame that is the San Diego Padres bats right now. So Gallen is in a fantastic spot. Would not trust Rich Hill. Rich Hill not doing good there. He's faced Arizona twice this year, 7.1 innings, 14 hits allowed, 2 home runs, 7 Ks. Just faced Arizona his last start. In that start, he only lasted 3.1 innings, 3 earned runs, 4 Ks, 4.7 fantasy points at 6,900, and they only put him down 500. So yeah, I'm all over Arizona as a stack. I'm not on Rich Hill at all, but we can definitely take a look and see who's had success against. We're gonna look at these bats, but I'm probably not going to be looking much. If you aren't using Zach Gallen, Trent Grisham, I don't mind, but a lot more red. Juan Soto would be an option. Kim would be an option. Tatis would be an option. Cronenworth and Bogarts would be an option. But I'm probably going with Gallen more so than anybody else. Then we look at Arizona bats against Rich Hill, who just hit him pretty well lately. His last start. Christian Walker against the lefty is always a fantastic option that I want to look at for Arizona. Moreno, I would definitely look at if he's in. Ketel Marte, I would look at. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. against the lefty, I'd look at. And then if we look at the bats that have had success, or not had success, but are heated up or really good this year via StatCast. Tommy Pham against the lefty. Sign me up there. Ketel Marte, like I said, Corbin Carroll, I would take. Moreno, Lourdes Gurriel, Christian Walker, I would look at. Those would probably be the bats that I would look at. So pretty much from Tommy Pham to Christian Walker. And then Soto, Fernando Tatis, Machado, Grisham, maybe Ben Gamel as a very cheap option if he's still up on the team. Gary Sanchez is a tournament option. I don't trust him enough, though. That would probably be it. So, yeah. In this game, I'm looking at Gallen. I'm not looking at Rich Hill. I'm looking more so at the Arizona bats. I'm not looking at San Diego bats. Then the final game is the Brewers at the Dodgers. You got Corbin Burnes versus Lance Lynn. Burnes, 73 plate appearances, 250 batting average against the Dodgers. Lance Lynn, 77 plate appearances, 300 batting average against the Brewers. So looking at these numbers, Corbin Burnes is the second highest priced pitcher behind Zach Gallen, $400 less on DraftKings. Game log, not so good against the White Sox, and we did use him in that start, and it backfired on us. 5.2 innings, 5 earned runs, 5 Ks, 6.2 fantasy points at 11,200. Absolutely unacceptable. Not really a good game here against Pittsburgh, not really a good game against Washington, an okay game against Cincy, a really good game against Philly. Splits-wise, he hasn't faced Dodgers this year. They're a really good team, obviously. We look at those numbers. He's pitching on the road. On the road, he's got a 3.35 ERA, so he's a little bit better on the road in 2 more starts. Does have more Ks on the road, more walks, same home runs, more earned runs, more runs allowed, and more hits allowed. So probably at his price, I got to avoid Burnes. 10,600, 4-game slate. I'm probably sticking away from Burnes here. Lance Lynn, we'll take a look at him. He's the 3rd highest priced pitcher. Really good game against Colorado. Good game against San Diego, good game against Oakland. So he's had 3 really good starts since getting traded to the Dodgers, whether or not maybe it was an anomaly, but you see 99 record, 5.88 ERA. He's won every single start for the Dodgers. Probably, if he gets the run support, could win his 4th start in a row. Splits-wise, hasn't faced Milwaukee this year. He is pitching at home, which is a 5.92 ERA, but he's only pitched here as a home team twice, so that I don't know if that's really going to affect anything. But he should get the run support behind him. He should be able to be pretty good against Milwaukee, but again, Milwaukee's got some bats that can hit. It just depends if his stuff's going to be on tonight. He might be too expensive for me at the top here. I think if I'm paying up for a pitcher today in this main slate of 4 games, it's going to be Gallen. I think it's got to be Gallen. And then your second starting pitcher, man, I don't know, Skubal, maybe. Again, it's not a fun slate. I've seen way better slates with way worse pitchers, which is crazy. So if you look here, Yelich and William Contreras are the hottest hitters on the team right now. A cheaper option, Monasterio, as you can see, a little bit of light pink here, a little bit of blue. Sal Frelick, maybe a little bit. Willy Adames, maybe a little bit. And then, every Dodgers bat. Martinez, Mookie, Muncy, Peralta, Freeman, Will Smith, Ahmed Rosario, Outman. Just depends on the lineup that comes out. So let's take a look at the 2 pitchers here. Both righties. Take a gander at LA and Milwaukee. And looking at this, what bats have had success against righties? So going for the Dodgers, Mookie's been on fire. We know that. Freddie Freeman batting .332, 416 OBP, 951 OPS. All of his numbers are great. WRC, WRAA, WOBA, everything's good here. Muncy's another option, a little bit lower, but I would still use him. I prefer Will Smith against lefties, but I don't mind him in your stack. JD Martinez, I don't mind in that stack as well. And then if we're not going with Lance Lynn and we're looking at Milwaukee bats, Yelich obviously batting .307 with a 402 OBP against righties. I would look at him. Contreras, but not the best numbers. To be honest, there's not a ton to like about this Milwaukee offense. I'd rather take the Dodgers offense here and maybe a little bit of Lance Lynn just because he should get the run support behind him. And that's it, guys and gals. We went through it all. We went through every game. We went through all the pitchers. If I'm looking on this slate here, I'm looking at Gallen. I'm looking at Lynn. I'm probably avoiding Burns at that price. I'm avoiding Rich Hill. I guess you could go Curry just because Detroit is almost dead last in ISO power against pitchers, both lefty and righty. So the pitchers I wouldn't use is probably Burns at that price, Rich Hill, and Adam Wainwright. And the other ones will be up in the air with the player pool that I would have. So there you have it. Those are the breakdowns. Now, like I said, we're going to have the top 10 pitchers and bats according to 2,000 simulations. We do 10,000 total, but these are through 2,000 simulations throughout the day. And hopefully this helps. And if it does, let us know. But we will update this on the website later on in the day. And this is just, this is all day slate. So these are all of the batters. It's not just like earlier main slate. So we've got Rafael Devers against Corbin. We got Masataka Yoshida against Corbin. We got Tristan Casas against Corbin. So right off the bat, the first 3 batters the simulations love are a Boston stack against Patrick Corbin. Then you got Riley Green against Curry, Akil Baddoo against Curry, and then Justin Turner against Corbin, Spencer Torkelson against Curry, Lindor against Wainwright, Alex Verdugo against Corbin, and Brandon Nimmo versus Wainwright as well. So out of the top 10, 5 of them are Boston bats, 3 of them are Detroit, and 2 of them are the Mets. Now, this will change probably, but again, it's a weird slate that not a ton to like about this slate, but the first 2,000 simulations, absolutely love the Red Sox and the Detroit Tigers, which is crazy to think about. Then we look at pitchers. Not a ton of pitchers to like, honestly, right now. Chris Sale at number 1. Lance Lynn at number 2. Tariq Skubal, number 3. Number 4 is Quintana. Number 5 is Curry. And then those would probably be the only pitchers that I would use. It does have Wainwright at the very bottom. I think that's pretty obvious. And then the other pitchers, it's not liking Rich Hill at all. It's not liking Wainwright. It doesn't like the Kansas City pitcher because we don't know how far they're going to go in. So again, this is a slate where I'm going to be a little bit more lenient and going to play probably. I usually play like 20 lineups a night. Probably going to be like 5. I'm going to really ramp up and get you guys ready for Friday though. So hopefully you found this video helpful. Hopefully you found it informative. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and good luck on this slate. And let's bring home some bacon. Peace!